Hey, I'm back. This is Chandler for Melda Production, and today I'm going to show you how you can use MSoundfactory to take some sounds, or like sounds you get from just stuff you make around your house, and turn it into some instruments. Ideally, some idiophones, so like xylophones and that type of sound. So I have 3 sounds I made just from stuff I found around my house. So the first one is just me hitting a box. The second one is just a glass I have, just a drinking glass. And the third one is like a Tibetan singing bowl. This is actually Japanese, but you get the idea. So let's take these and turn them into musical instruments. So here we go. Let's start with MSoundfactory. I'm going to turn the attack down here and turn the sustain all the way up. I'll turn the volume down a little bit just so we're not clipping. And now let's start in the generator. So first we need an exciter. There's lots of different ways we could do this, but I'm going to use drum synthesis for an in. I'm going to go into the editor here, pop this out. And I've done something similar to this before, but I thought I'd show it again if you don't remember. So I'm going to take the oscillator first here. I'll move this up all the way up to 100. Move this to, let's say, 15 milliseconds. So now it'll sound like kind of like a laser zap. Move this down just so it curves, maybe around 75%, so it won't have quite that zapping sound. That's much better. And from here, let me go to a multi-parameter, and let's assign this node to a multi-parameter. So I'll just do quick learn here. That the problem is this is controlling the X, and I don't want that. I don't want it to control the X-axis. I want to control the Y-axis like this. Let's just set this, say Y or something. And then if you notice, it moves up and down according to this. But I don't really want it to move that far. Let's set the minimum value to 50, like that. Okay, so now I'll play it. So that's just so we can get some variation on the sound of our exciter. Now just turn this off for a second, go into the noise oscillator. So I think 100 milliseconds is alright. Do the same thing here, just bend this down a little bit. I think the most important thing here is the filter. So I'm going to turn the filter on. Learn this, that, and now find a good point that sounds good here. That sounds alright. Now let's mix them together. So that to me sounds like, I don't know, a stick or something hitting something. So that's what we're going to use. Now let's go into here. Let's get started on the actual instrument. So the modal filter, turn that on. And I'm going to go to a preset I made before. This is the one I always use. It's just called All Harmonics here. And so that just turns everything on, so all 32 are on for this. We may not need them, but let's start off with that. Turn the output down a little bit. And next we need to go into the structure. So I'm going to click Structure A. Now here's where we're going to do our analysis. So where it says Analyze Sample, click this. Turn the threshold down. Now you can mess with these, and sometimes you're going to have to get the proper sound, but for now we'll leave it as it is. I like sort by frequency on, so that way that I believe the loudest note, or no, the lowest note will always be harmonic 1. But anyways, let's go into load file here. I have this one that says household sounds. So this is just what I played before. So let's move over here and slide this over. By using the mouse wheel, we can zoom in here. But make sure I'm actually on the sound. Man, whoo, bit too much. Up here. Okay. Looks like we're on the sound. Everything looks alright. I could try to sort it by frequency, or change the threshold to change it a little bit like this. If I move it up, you'll see some disappear, but I'm not sure if we actually need that. Let's listen to it as it is now. I'll close this so we can see here. I might have to turn the output up a little bit. I have the meter here also. I can turn it up a bit. Now you're probably saying, wait, isn't that the piece of wood that you played here that's supposed to sound like this? Why does it sound like a bell? Okay, so that's the big problem. And in my other video, I kind of showed this, but one of the things you want to do to get that kind of muted sound is decrease the resonance like this. I think around 20% is good. Okay, let's listen to the original. So that's what we have here. This is the original, simulated. So this has a little bit more high end, and we could go in here by going with this multi-parameter, by raising this up a little bit here. And we can always do more to try to get a little bit more high end out of there. I probably want to high pass this too if I wanted more of that to get it closer. But me, I think it's pretty close to what I want. I'd probably leave it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like, I think this are fairly close. So you can always adjust it more and also play with the resonance too if you want it to sound a little bit more, have a little bit more ring to it. And then from here, we can just use this like any instrument. Okay, so for that, I think I could use that as an instrument in a song if I wanted to. I might want to increase the resonance a bit. But I think overall that's good. It almost sounds like a wooden xylophone or something. So I like that. I think we succeeded there. Now let's do the same thing again with a different sound. Load up our modal filter again. Do all the same stuff. Load the all harmonics again. Turn it down a little bit. And this time let's do the glass sound. So we'll go into here, analyze it again. Same one, just zoom out here, and instead of the first hit, let's try around here. Make sure I'm actually on the glass sound. That appears to be on it. That's good. But one of the things you'll notice is, wait, everything, all the harmonics are low. This 19 is the only one up. It sounds okay. But the problem is it's going to be out of tune, so we don't want that. So what I usually like to have is have this first harmonic here be the highest volume if I can, but at the very least, I want this to be at 1 here. And now it is, but the problem is there's really no sound coming out of it. So one thing we can do here is use the threshold and move that until it gets rid of some of these harmonics that are probably just noise and then we don't need. So move it, getting close. Okay, so now we have it at 1 here. You see, like, oh, okay, number 1 is the highest harmonic, so it's good, right? But if you look here, this is at 3, so it's going to be out of tune. So we don't want that. Move this up a little bit more. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Come on, get to 1. Okay, so now you see here, this is at 1, so it's going to be in tune, and these other ones are slightly out of tune, but that's what we want. It's a piece of glass, so it's not going to be perfectly in tune harmonically. So close this, and let's hear how it sounds. Make sure it's not too loud or too soft. I can turn it up a little bit. And I can do the same thing with the resonance. But first, let's actually hear what the original sounded like here. Okay. Turn the resonance down. Up an octave. I think that's pretty good. So I'll play it again. This is the original. This is the simulated sound. Oops, play the wrong key. But you get the idea. And this I can play all over the keyboard. So I hope that gives you some ideas of things you can do. So this sounds good, but there's something else that's probably useful that we can do with this. So this I could use for any kind of like glass sound, like I'm hitting, glasses or something. But there's actually an interesting instrument where it's a glass harmonica, where it's spinning blades of, actually not blades, spinning spheres, like cups of glass, and then you touch your fingers on it when your fingers are wet, and it makes a sound. I believe it's a glass harmonica. I think it's actually made by Benjamin Franklin, too. That's besides the point and beyond the scope of this video. But if you wanted that sound, or like someone who's actually rubbing a glass to create that, we can kind of do a similar effect to that. So instead of this, we're going to turn the resonance up, but you're going to say like, hey, that just makes it brighter. But if we actually change the order, it's going to add a longer attack to things. So let's say if I move it up to 3. And the higher the order, the longer the attack and the longer the sustain. If you change the distribution, it will make that sharp attack again, so like that. But we don't want that in this case. Let's move it all the way up to 5 like this. So we can do that. It may be better at 4. It's using more CPU than I'd like also. So one thing we can do here is look into structure and see like, okay, up to the 5th harmonic, it's actually doing something. After that, these don't really have any sound. So what we can do is just change the count, move these down. I think it's after 5 or so. I'll leave it at like 8 though. Just leave a few extra. So you could use something like this for a pad or something if you wanted like a crystal pad. And this is a little bit different. One thing I should note though also is, let me move this down and change the resonance a bit. This, the further you go down, it's going to sound more and more out of tune. You can hear like, that sounds out of tune and it's not great really. This is kind of a problem with pretty much anything. I think this probably happened with a real instrument, but there's somewhat of a way we can get around this. So if we go into here in structure, let's take this first one here, copy, paste it here. So we have the same thing for A and B. Okay, and now I can go back into A, and there's one thing I can do where it says reset frequencies. And what this will do is it'll take some of these frequencies and set them to where they're supposed to be. So this one is at 1, where it should be. But this one, frequency 2, should be at 2, but it's actually 2.35. This 3 should be at 3. It's almost there. 4 should be at 4, but it's at 3.75, etc. 5 should be at 5, but it's not. Now, if we hit reset frequencies, it'll align them perfectly. So I'll let you listen to the difference between that. So this is the original on B. This is A. So if you don't want it to be so out of tune, you can do that. And also, if you're thinking like, I kind of like it a little bit out of tune, but not quite so much, you can move it someplace in between, like here. And so that way you kind of get like the best of both worlds and you can decide. You could even do like a key tracking to kind of move it as it goes lower. It moves closer to A if you want to. But, that's... I don't want to get into that here. Let's do one more, and that one would be the wood. So keep working backwards here. Actually, no, it's the... we already did the wood. It's the singing bowl, the Tibetan singing bowl. So let's do one more modal filter. again here. Turn all the harmonics on, go into the structure, and let's open this up. Same sample again. Go to the last one here. And we're going to have to do the same thing here. Take the threshold, move it down. Ooh, hopefully you can see this here. It actually looks okay as it is. It has a few other ones here that I don't think I particularly need. So yeah, maybe here is okay. Close this. Let's hear how it sounds. That's good. And I can change this point here we made before with the exciter to kind of change the exciter characteristics. So you can change that however you want. Let's hear what it sounded like before the original. So it's pretty close. One thing I probably want to do here is change the order, maybe 3. You heard that, like, oh, okay, that sounds like somebody scraped a singing bowl. So if you haven't heard someone scrape a singing bowl, that's kind of what it sounds like. But I want to turn up the distribution because I want it to sound like a hit. Let's move it up one more so we can get a little bit more sustain. Versus the real one. So I could do some things. I believe I hear kind of like a pitch drop in the original one, and I could do that using the synths. Another thing I'm kind of hearing is a tremolo. So I can put tremolo on here, move the rate up a little bit. Let's hear this. Which is more similar to the original sample. So I think that's getting pretty close. But this whole sound by itself I could use for something else. So let's say, get rid of this for a second. And I can move the resonance down and make it sound more like a xylophone, like this. So I like how this sounds. But let's say I want to take this and kind of change it into a vibraphone. So a vibraphone, it's similar to a xylophone or something, but it actually has a resonance chamber, like pipes under it. So we can do something similar ourselves. So all you need to do is just go here, add another modal filter. You think, what are you doing? You have 2 at the same time. What I can do is right click here, input it here. So one's going into the other one. Go into our all harmonics here. Turn the output down. Be careful with this. This is where you really want to turn on this limiter. Don't blow out your own ears. So if I play it now, it'll probably be somewhat loud. You hear that kind of ringing. If I turn the initial one off, I can turn down the resonance a bit, like this. And so you can hear, oh, it's kind of coming together. And a real vibraphone also has that tremolo, so let's add that back in here, like this. And if I want to add a ratio here to hook them both together, like this, now I can control how much volume each one has. Or actually, I don't really like that one. Let's see. Let's try another one. I guess this was the glass. That one sounds a little bit better, although I think it's probably a bit too loud. So you can see how you can create all sorts of things with that, or if I turn this one down and use the first one, maybe more of like a marimba sound. Although I probably need to turn the resonance down for that. So you can experiment with that and create all sorts of different sounds with this. Experiment with the exciter also, but really just changing these different structures in the harmonics, you can come up with all sorts of things if you want. Oh, what am I doing? Sorry, just using random pop-ups for no reason. But you get the idea. By changing the structures, you can come up with all sorts of things using stuff from around your house. And also by actually changing the structures and using this XY pad, you can come up with unreal instruments, things that don't actually exist in real life. So hopefully this gave you an idea of how to do that and gave you some fun things to do. But hope you enjoyed this. Until next time, check out all the other plugins at meldaproduction.com. If you haven't, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And until next time, see you.